Hi, so today we are going to cover the basic conjugation of Spanish verbs in the present tense. Obviously, there are some exceptions to these rules, but this will help to give you a basic understanding of how to conjugate regular verbs and a base for constructing sentences in Spanish. Okay, so there are three basic classes of verbs in Spanish. All Spanish verbs end with the letter R, but there are actually three different types of endings. There are AR, ER, and IR verbs, which just indicate that the letter before the R is either an A, an E, or an I. It's pretty self-explanatory. Now I'm going to give you some examples of each of these three types of verbs. For the AR verbs, we have the verb hablar, which means to talk. There is also the verb cantar, which means to sing, and bailar, which means to dance. Some examples of ER verbs include comer, which means to eat, correr, which means to run, and leer, which means to read. And finally, for the IR verbs, we have the examples of escribir, which means to write, compartir, which means to share, and vivir, which means to live. There are many other Spanish verbs, however, these are some of the most common ones, so we will focus on these for today. There are 6 main classes of Spanish pronouns which will help to guide you when conjugating Spanish verbs. Each one of these Spanish pronouns will have a different verb ending depending on the type of verb. Whenever we conjugate Spanish verbs, we will always see the Spanish pronouns in the same order. First, we have yo, which means I, tú, which means you in the informal sense, él, ella, and usted, which are he, she, and you formal. Then there is nosotros and nosotras, which mean we, vosotros and vosotras, which mean you all, informal, and finally, ellos, ellas, and ustedes, which mean them. So now we are going to start with the AR verb conjugation, which actually is the most common. So going in order, we have o, as, a, amos, ice, and an. Here is an example which is the conjugation of bailar. Yo bailo, I dance. Tú bailas, you dance. Él baila, he dances. Nosotros bailamos, we dance. Vosotros bailáis, you all dance. And finally, ellos bailan, they dance. Paco y Lola bailan. Now for the ER verbs, it is basically the same thing as the AR verbs, except the A's are replaced with E's. So we have O, es, a, hemos, es, en. One example of an ER verb is comer. Yo como, I eat. Tú comes, you eat. Él comen, he eats. Nosotros comemos, we eat. Vosotros comes, you all eat. And ellos comen, they eat. Maria come la fruta. Last but not least, we have our IR verbs, which are very similar to the ER verbs, except they are different in the nosotros and the vosotros forms. So for the IR verbs, we have o, es, e, hemos, is, and en. An example of an IR verb is compartir. Yo comparto, I share. Tú compartes, you share. Él comparte, he shares. Nosotros compartimos, we share. Vosotros compartís, you all share. And finally, ellos comparten, they share. Mi hermano y yo compartimos el batido. Thank you so much for watching my video. You are now on your way to conjugating Spanish verbs to increase your fluency in the Spanish language.